Greetings, Culture Warriors. It is I, Jeff Vieira, author of Culture is Everything, and your host for this latest dispatch from the front. I come to bury Jeff Bezos, not praise him, which will be no surprise to many of you. I've been very critical of Amazon lately, but today I'm going to take the role of defense attorney for Amazon. This story from Annie Palmer at CNBC. Seattle passes payroll tax targeting Amazon and other big businesses. Seattle City Council has approved a new tax for the city's biggest businesses and their highest earners, such as Amazon. Called the Jumpstart Seattle Tax, the bill passed late Monday with a 7-2 vote and is expected to go into effect in 2021. Money from the tax will initially be used to fund coronavirus relief, but will eventually go towards addressing housing and homelessness in Seattle. Under the new bill, businesses with at least $7 million in annual payroll expenses will be taxed between 0.7% and 2.4% on the amount they pay Seattle-based employees, with tiers based on individual salary amounts above $150,000. The highest bracket targets companies like Amazon with annual payroll expenses above $1 billion. Those companies will be taxed 2.4% for employees making more than $400,000. The decision is a blow to Amazon, which fought the passage of the so-called head tax in 2018 via a well-financed referendum campaign alongside other Seattle businesses. After the head tax was repealed, Councilmember Kshama Sawant pushed to revive discussions around a big business tax with her Tax Amazon campaign. The Jumpstart tax is more aggressive than Tax Amazon legislation, which sought to apply a flat 0.7% payroll tax on big businesses. Representatives from Amazon didn't immediately respond to a request for comment on the Jumpstart legislation. Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda, who introduced the Jumpstart legislation, said the tax's approval is a big step towards creating a progressive tax system that works for all. Isn't it always? The tax didn't garner support from the Seattle's business community. However, with the Greater Seattle Chamber of Commerce saying in a statement that the tax pins Seattle's economic future on local businesses remaining strong at a time when the depth and breadth of the crisis is still unfolding, the passage of the Jumpstart tax could further accelerate Amazon's move to secure office space outside of Seattle. Amazon maintains an expensive Seattle footprint, but in recent years it has moved to establish a presence in areas outside of the city. Last month, Amazon said it would lease 111,000 square feet of office space in Redmond, Washington, which will house some 600-plus employees. The company also has an office in the Seattle suburb of Bellevue, and it's building a 43-story tower there, its largest yet. Okay. Let me start by reminding people of the famous quote that the power to tax is the power to destroy. That comes from the Supreme Court. And it is absolutely true. What an outrage that these local yokel control freaks are able to specifically target a business for this kind of taxation. Just one. How can you, with a straight face, claim that everyone is equal under the law and then launch a Tax Amazon campaign? Amazon is far and away the largest employer in Seattle. Amazon has brought untold wealth to Seattle. I remember going to Seattle and seeing the amazing footprint that Amazon has there, a number of buildings, campus really, and how many public works were funded by Amazon. On top of that, having that presence there really puts Seattle on the map as a major tech center. The attachment that Jeff Bezos had to the Seattle area came at a fairly large price for Amazon. It's much cheaper to do what they do in other places, almost any other place outside of Silicon Valley. or New York City. And I'm struck. I remember some years ago, I saw some YouTube footage of the Cupertino, California City Council meeting where Steve Jobs went to announce his plans for a new headquarters campus for Apple. He no doubt thought it was going to be good news to the city council. After all, it meant that Apple was staying in Cupertino. The construction work plus the amount of employees serviced would be a continual economic benefit to the city. And he was taken aback when the city council instead pressed him for Apple to offer the entire city free Wi-Fi. And to see these smug, worthless city officials trying to shake down Steve Jobs was really quite a display in arrogance and entitlement. And let's face it, there's nothing these people have aside from lust for power which exceeds their sense of entitlement. So it's no surprise that Seattle, home of Chaz, burgeoning third world dystopia, would slit its own throat by driving Jeff Bezos and Amazon out of the city. But they are. And you can bet that they will try to kill Amazon by death by 1,000 cuts all the way until they have withdrawn completely from the environs of the city, which will promptly go to hell. It's fascinating to me that all of the most egregious legislation passed is given these socialist propaganda names. It's always the Puppies, Bunnies, Kittens Act of 2020. Because what kind of monster could vote against puppies, bunnies, kittens, even if the legislative language itself has nothing to do with puppies, bunnies, or kittens? Jumpstart Seattle. This isn't about jumpstarting Seattle. It's about defibrillating Seattle because these morons have destroyed it. Let me give you a hint as to who is responsible for the homelessness and rampant crime in Seattle. It isn't Jeff Bezos. Let me clue you in as to who is responsible for the small businesses that are getting crushed in Seattle. It isn't Jeff Bezos' employees, no matter how much he happens to pay them. Every time one of Jeff Bezos' employees takes a cab, takes mass transit, pays for parking, buys a coffee, has lunch in Seattle, they are contributing to that city's economy. Every time he builds a beautiful building, every time he commissions a statue, Seattle benefits. Every time someone looks up Amazon.com and sees the word Seattle, Washington, Seattle benefits. Jeff Bezos has done an awful lot for Seattle. Seattle, by contrast, hasn't done jack for Jeff Bezos and Amazon. At least when you compare it to what other communities would do just to welcome them to them and to have the same level of economic activity and reputational value that Amazon gives Seattle. There is nothing so ungrateful as a politician after Election Day. And this is what we're seeing play out here in Seattle. The purpose of taxation is to fund the legitimate powers of government. It's not to stroke the ego of somebody who wants to have their name written in a Mont Blanc pen on some piece of legislative garbage that no one but them will remember even a year from now. And yet in our dysfunctional society, nowhere more dystopian than in bright blue Seattle, this is what passes for governance. This is what passes for statesmanship. I would recommend that the citizens of Seattle really take a look at what they value. Do they value having a vibrant economy? Do they value being famous as a tech center? Do they value the jobs and the money that comes from having a heavy hitter like Amazon headquartered in your community? Or do they value their sense of entitlement such that they will milk any golden goose that comes along until it is dead? As always, it is a conflict of values. Amazon will like to do their business, make money, and, oh, by the way, give something back to the local community. The City Council of Seattle, however, would simply like to turn Amazon upside down and shake them until the money falls out and they can grab it with their grasping little paws. Well, Bezos has options. And there are other communities who would treat him and his employees with quite a bit more respect. I think that's what we're going to see play out. Because greed and entitlement, those are woven into the DNA, into the very character of these people. And sense and dignity and logic and honor are just foreign words to them. So sadly, I think that Amazon's days in Seattle are coming to a rapid close. Have a great day.